I know Brad and Matt and everybody was on this show. John Johnson, Brent Coxworthy, Johnny Mack, all these guys, man, they're going to bring it. I had kids at that age, around age 4 and 5. They were strong enough to do handstand push-ups, and we had kids doing flips, and I was creating athletes, but then I was also teaching them, of course, the basics. I'm very driven. It's who I am. And I take pride in it, as I said. When I tell people I am the real deal, that's what I mean.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 32 of the Good People, Bad Intentions podcast. My name is Matthew Pine, and today as our guest, we have Kyle the Real Deal McNeil. Now, if you've been a listener to this podcast for a while, you know that this isn't the first time that Kyle's been on. In fact, it's been the third time now. And the last time we spoke was July 16th, and that was at the Fists of Fury at the Halifax Forum. This was an event that Kyle had promoted himself as well as headlined successfully as he won a unanimous decision against Alberto Bautista. And now there's been some time since that event, and I would love to talk to him because he has an upcoming event against the ropes. This is going to be November 5th. And I want to talk to him about that and kind of see what he's learned from promoting now that he's starting a series of events with the Real Deal Promotions. So without further ado, guys, here's Kyle. Hey, thank you for coming on, Kyle. I really appreciate it. We had you on not too long ago when we were doing the interviews for your last card, and really appreciative for you to come back on.
Yeah, no worries, man. Happy to be on, Matt. Always glad to support local, and local supports me back. So, great to be on and love to chat about the upcoming event.
Yeah, so it wasn't too long ago you had your first event. We kind of talked in the moment after you had won your fight, what your feelings were and everything that led up. But now that you've had some time, have you been able to kind of reflect on your first event? And then going into the second event against the ropes, November 5th, have you been able to kind of reflect on things you did well and things you didn't do well in the first event?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I took it on head on. I went at it hard, and it was just flat out from get-go, from day one. Took on all the jobs. I did all the matchmaking. I put all the pieces in order. I was very adamant to get as much experience as I could throughout the whole situation. I mean, delegation is key when you're trying to put on an event, so I had a strong team behind me with Real Deal Promotions. But at the end of the day, I tried to take on as many jobs as I could, to wear as many hats as I could, because, me, I like to go balls to the wall, go big or go home. And we did well with the event. There was CFL weekend, Jazz Fest, and Gay Pride weekend, and we still drew quite a bit of people, and we did well at the forum. And so I'm very excited for the Lighthouse Arts Center, November 5th, Saturday. We have a stacked show with local Canadian talent, local champions, myself, Brandon Brewer, Brandon Osborne, Brett Beaton, Simo DeBog from Tribal. We have all kinds of fighters from across Canada and PEI, and I'm just very excited.
And let's just dive right into it, because you got your opponent, Teddy Reno.
That's right.
He's got a lot of experience. I watched some of this tape that's on YouTube. Yeah. He was in the amateurs in the year 1999, so he's been around in the boxing game for quite some time. I'm sure you probably have similar stats as far as length of time in the game compared to with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I met Teddy years ago when I was just a teenager, and he was actually a pro then.
Okay.
And I had just getting myself ready to go pro. So he's been around, and he's a middleweight. I mean, most people don't realize, but I'm not even really a big welterweight. Call it what it is. So I have intentions on moving down to 140 in the near future. But at the end of the day, for this show, I'm going to go up to 155, throw some hands with the big boys, have a lot of fun doing it, and I'm ready to kick ass and take some names. Close out the year with a bang.
And you mentioned that he was a middleweight, and I do realize that your co-main event with Brandon Brewer, he actually had fought Brandon in the past. He lost by unanimous decision. I believe that was in 2014. And I know. Sorry.
It was a really good fight.
Yes, it was. So were you able to spectate, or were you able to see the tape on that fight, or?
Yeah, I checked it out. I mean, I want to say I was there, but it's been a while. I feel like I wasn't. I was supposed to be, and then something happened. But I do recall the fight. I do recall seeing some of the footage, and like I said, I'm familiar with Teddy, and I love that it's going to be a lot of Canadians fighting a lot of other Canadians. Um, Whereas the last show we had quite a few Mexican fighters come down who they came down, they put on, and it was a great show, like I said. But it's onward and upward for this big show, and this is going to be the biggest boxing event that's come in many years. So I'm very excited.
And one thing I want to really congratulate on you is we talked about this from the first episode we had where you're talking about wanting to put on your own promotion, Real Deal Promotions, is you wanted to have kind of a series of events so that the boxing scene had a multitude of events for a year. And so far you've really been delivering on that promise because it's not been that long since you've had your first event and now you're going on with the second one.
Yeah, I climbed out of the ring and I just went right back to work.
Yeah. Do you feel like because of these last few years, like things been shut down, have you felt like there's been this need in the boxing world for there to be a multitude of events and trying to keep things do the pros when you're making these matches, are they eager to compete and they're wanting to compete as much as possible?
Yeah, there's definitely a deficit in professional boxing events here in Nova Scotia, especially. I mean, the Maritimes in Nova Scotia doesn't have that many pro boxing promoters, really.
Hmm.
I mean, there's some amateur boxing shows around, but pro boxing has been a bit of a lull, especially since COVID. So this has been a lifelong goal of mine. This has been a childhood dream of mine. I was able to bucket list some stuff with that last show at the Forum, but at the end of the day, this is going to be my real, passion, bringing classy, high caliber boxing events to Halifax, wholesome, family friendly events that everybody can enjoy. And that's what my real goal is. And of course, I'm going to grab some championship belts along the way and kick ass and do well because, well, I work hard and the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So, November 5th, I want people to get those tickets. It's going to be worth it.
And I want to say, so the first event, it was at the Forum, staple within the boxing community as far as events are held. The Lighthouse, can you talk a little bit about that venue for anybody that's not familiar with the Lighthouse and ultimately what swayed you to go with them for this event?
Well, the Lighthouse Arts Arena, as many might know and some don't, is the old World Trade and Convention Center.
Mm-hmm.
So it is now private owned and it has been completely renovated. They've recently they've done some concerts there, and it's just such a beautiful venue. It's got the classy lights on the cages. It's got they got lasers and smoke machines and just the whole shebang. Skybox up there for the camera angles. It's just going to be terrific. We're going to have professional cameras, professional cameramen.
Okay.
I'm trying to work on some special guests right now. Expect to see some of Canada's best in the crowd. I'm going to name drop a couple people. Ryan Rizicki, Castillo Clayton. You should probably see some pretty awesome guys local who are going to be there to enjoy the show ringside. It's going to be a terrific event. I mean, if you're in the neighborhood, you got to stop in.
And I love how you're bringing up and name dropping somebody like Ryan Rizicki because Brandon Osborne, somebody we both know, he's going to be fighting in the Bridgerweight division, a division
that's a new division.
Yes, a division that Ryan had fought against Oscar Rivas for the inaugural title.
That's correct.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see that division continue and start have fights.
And that's the exciting thing too, right? Because you got a lot of guys that are very close in weight class, and as I said, it's a very local, all Canadian show. I'm very excited, and again, it's about building the scene. It's about building the local fighters. It's not just about myself, right? And so that's what I really love about what I'm doing, and I'm able to bring out a lot of local businesses and help them network and meet other people, and that's what it's all about here. We're all trying to grow. And so, it's going to be really good.
So looking at your opponent, Teddy, we already discussed that he's a middleweight, but you're kind of taking, there's a little bit of a weight disparity maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. When you look at his opponent, he kind of has a lot of similar goals to you. I mean, he's got He's got I was looking him up. He's got this 10th Street gym in Calgary that he's a part of, and he does he trains his own clients and does a lot of similar things with you. Do you kind of can you describe your history with him? Do you guys have a mutual friendship or respect about each other, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're professionals at the end of the day,
Yes.
right? I mean, I wouldn't say anything like, we're familiar with each other.
Yes.
I know the same people he knows.
Yep.
My current team that I train with knows who he is, and they're aware of him. And I believe they've even worked with him a bit in the past, Bridget Stevens and Jim Maloney.
Yep.
It's a mutual respect for sure. There's no bad blood between us, but just the same, it's gonna be wartime come fight night. So I'm very excited.
And I'm excited too. And kind of a segue. I see you're not in your usual location. Are you on the grid right now?
I'm on the grid right now. I'm not at my homestead out in the middle of the woods.
Okay.
I'm actually down near my sister's place, just up the driveway from my gym. Normally I'd be down at my gym right now, but the reception wasn't great, so I came up here.
I really appreciate it, by the way.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I'm just up the driveway, actually, in the house, trying to find a charger.
keeping things current. Obviously hurricanes coming, Fiona.
Yep.
Fiona, Shrek, right? I don't know if there's any coincidence there, but I've seen some memes about that. But we've talked from every time we've talked on here. I always try to promote your lifestyle. I think you have a very unique lifestyle, the off-grid lifestyle. Mm-hmm. When you see these people scrambling, the thought about there's going to be no power for 2 days, 3 days, and you kind of live a lifestyle where that's probably one of the last things that you're thinking about. I mean, what is it like from your perspective, looking out on kind of the chaos that goes on when these storms happen?
The only thing we're thinking about is making sure we got enough water. I mean, we have so much food at the homestead. It's unreal. Me and my fiance, Colleen Pace, have giggles every once in a while when we see stuff like this happen because it just doesn't affect us. We got solar panels and solar power, solar lights, and everything is very, very off the grid. So, I mean, we just don't have the same concerns as other people. I mean, we live a very different lifestyle. It's a 200-year-old homestead we renovated the last 5 years. She's done all the hard work. I've just done the heavy lifting. And I mean, when we go in and out of the woods, we do it on foot unless we have our truck, which is currently in the shop because it usually always is. Mm-hmm. And it's a different way of life, but I wouldn't have it any other way, man. I love it.
Yeah, and I can tell just from talking to you. I mean, you're very much about the lifestyle. You have your values are a lot different than a lot of other people. You got a very wholesome, you're a very kind person. And that's one thing I love about you, Kyle, and I think that's why people can gravitate and go towards and support you in these fights. And as your promotion grows, people are supporting you with your promotion. So yeah, you're kind of you're not like the rest of the folk that are kind of going crazy. You kind of been here, you.
Yeah. We came into town to do a workout, and then we're gonna head back in. That's our storm prep.
Yeah, because I was like thinking to myself, I was like, can I get him on Friday? Because like everybody else is like, because I was just at school and they're like, yeah, like okay, we're gonna go early so you can go home and stuff. And
I'm planning a steam probably during the storm. I got a sauna steam tent that
really,
it's really cool. Yeah, it's like I got it from Russia after my first after December, the fight in December at the Scotiabank Center. I kind of bought it as kind of a gift for myself and my fiance and. We do sauna steams on the regular, I believe very much in, hot, cold therapy. We do cold dips. We wash in the river. We do, like I say, we do things very different. But I am a very avid believer in the benefits of cold therapy.
Yes.
I mean, staying upwards of 2 minutes is just terrific for your cardiovascular health. And so, I love cold dips. And of course, who doesn't love a sauna steam when you can have it on hand? So that's pretty much all we planned.
What's your advice like for somebody like me or somebody that's listening if they wanted to get into cold therapy? Because I know it's something that's becoming more and more popular.
Because of the health benefits.
Yes. How would you get into it?
I would recommend start small.
Start small.
Start small. So, a couple minutes in the shower, maybe work one body part in, then another body part, and then all of a sudden you're fully immersed in freezing cold water. And from there, you just kind of build it up over time.
And then do you use that in combination with your sauna to have like a cold and a hot like cycle, or do you do those in different?
Yeah, I go down to the creek year round, and I wash at the creek. Like I'll get off from boxing, I might not get back till 9 o'clock at night, 9:30 at night, because I'm actually 90 minutes away from tribal boxing.
Oh wow.
Because we're 30 minutes from my gym, which is in the West Chesapeake area. So
Yes.
we're 30 minutes Clam Harbor to there, 15 minutes to get out of the woods, which makes 45 minutes total. So it's like a mile plus into the woods, get out of the woods, then go 30 minutes to my gym. That's my gym, my business, Real Deal Fitness,
Yes,
Real Deal
represent.
Fitness. And then that's right. And then it's even further to go into town to tribal. So by the time I get back most nights, I'm washing outside and then I'm going up to the house. But you just become so accustomed to it. I can do it all winter. I can do it all year. And, sometimes I'm a baby about it, but most of the time I'm pretty good. My fiance, on the other hand, Colleen, she's rock solid. She don't care. It doesn't even bother at all. She's used to it.
I'm just wondering when you're spending that much time driving and stuff, do you allow yourself to think about, your upcoming fight? Do you kind of like, because sometimes people drive in silence and they're kind of just left to themselves and their thoughts.
Constantly working. Constantly working, whether on my media, advertising, talking to other fighters, making sure they have their medicals done, matchmaking, making phone calls, trying to get a hold of CBC, Herald. There's some of the things I've been doing lately, trying to get a hold of more news, setting things up with you, of course, because obviously I want to get as many podcasts out as I can, malleable, local. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
I've been following you since the get-go, and I'm not going anywhere. So, yeah, man, I'm just happy to be a part of anything and everything I can that's going to help our communities grow, man. That's what I'm about. Real deal.
And that's what we're about too. And I really thank you again for giving me the first opportunity to, go to an event, do some interviews. It was kind of funny. I recognized some of the commission there because of when I was at the Valentine's Day Massacre way back.
That was a good show.
Yeah, it was a good show. And, I recognized the people like, hey, like, can I go into the locker room to, interview some people and stuff like that. And by the way, like I said, what a great event. I mean, I really had a good time talking with Butterbean because, he was somebody I looked up to getting into boxing. I'm a kind of a bigger guy, so the fact that he was able to have a lot of success and,
He'll be down again. He'll be down again sometime in the near future, for sure.
Good to know.
Eric's a great dude.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was able to connect with him and talk about Andy Ruiz, and, it was really cool to know that this guy has really inspired a lot of people, but even like current heavyweight champions and stuff. So it was cool to have that conversation. I'm familiar with some of the undercard. I'm familiar with Matt McIntyre. Do you have any insights on his fight with Johnny Mac?
A little bit of a bad blood between those two. They were supposed to fight a little while back. I don't want to call it bad blood, but there's a little bit of it was a nice friendly rivalry, we'll say.
Okay.
They were supposed to fight a couple years back, and there was some news coverage on Johnny Mac because many don't know, but he's one of the very first men that kind of came forward and was like, I'm an openly gay man and I'm a professional boxer, and that was pretty big here in Halifax because they never really, that's not been around. So they did some articles on him, and he's a super nice guy. I've actually met him and talked with him, and I know that the man he's fighting, Matt, he's definitely going to come ready to fight.
Yes.
He trains with Brett Beaton down at Beaton's Fitness, possibly even the Chief, right?
Yes.
And they all kind of help each other prepare. So I know Brett and Matt and everybody who's on this show, John Johnson, Brent Coxworthy, Johnny Mac, all these guys, man, they're going to bring it. So I'm expecting an exciting undercard. I feel like I did a really good job matchmaking because I've been in this game over 20 plus years. I've been in this game since I was 9 years old. I'm 30 now. So I'm very excited.
And I know that with both Daniel Beaupre and Brett Beaton, they still have opponents to be announced. But do you think in the future they're ever gonna have that rematch because of the fact that they both had those 14-second fights?
Yeah, I definitely see that coming in sometime in the future. But onward and upward with what's going on at the moment. But that is something to definitely look forward to in the future. I can't see that not happening.
And I'm really excited to see
down to specifics and timing.
Right? True. Really excited to see Simon back. I've never. I know you've had more experience training with Simon. I've never seen him. Like he's fought before. I think it's been a while since he has had a pro fight.
He used to fight back in the day with Robert Tapper, my former coach, Bobby Tapper.
Yes, but one thing about him that can't be understated is how much of an athlete he is. I mean, he's always in great, terrific shape, big guy, like lots of power. I'm really excited to see, what comes out.
It's gonna be a great show.
Yeah. Can we talk?
I've actually done some work with Simo years ago. Yes. He hired me as a strength and conditioning coach when he first started off with Bobby Tapper. So we did some work. Yeah, I used to get him out in the ball field at Cole Harbor Place, and we had some grueling workouts. And he's just a terrific athlete. So he's great part of the team with Tribal, and we're just done really well with him. And I'm excited to see him get back in the ring.
God, this is an interesting segue because I saw Brett Beaton was doing some training at Cole Harbor Place. Cole Harbor Place is like a staple as far as the region for a gym. Can you talk about, and I think we've talked a little bit about this in one of the previous interviews, but can you talk about maybe the importance Cole Harbor Place has for a lot of the athletes in this area? Because do a lot of people get their starts there or, do their conditioning there?
Yeah, I mean, I started at Cole Harbor Place. I was actually, most people don't know this, but I taught preschool for a few years.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I taught preschool for a few years. I was also security in the same building.
Okay.
And then I also taught, I also worked with some of the kids, teaching them swimming lessons, ages 3 to 5. And then I was also working in the babysitting room. So I was a man of many hats in that building. And then I was training every single day like a madman in the gym, working out in the saunas, working out in the pools. And I just, I'm a natural when it comes to meeting people and networking. So I met a lot of people. I made a lot of friends. And I've met some terrific people through that gym. It's one of those gyms that's kind of, it caters to the smaller communities, Cole Harbor, Lawrencetown, all the people around that area. And they're just super nice people. So that's kind of been a good start for a lot of people. It was one of my many jobs over the years. And I was building my business kind of long before I ever got in there. And then, of course, as I continued there. So when I branched off, my business, Real Deal Fitness, kind of eventually became my full-time job. And I'm now in a position where I feel very blessed, where I live off grid. I have very little overhead. And I do all right, and so our work pays off.
I gotta ask. I did not expect that you were a preschool teacher at one point.
Almost 3 years, man.
Do you have any experiences from there that any interesting stories? I mean, like what was it like? Because I could see you being a kindergarten teacher. You have a really happy demeanor about you and everything, but that's not the first thing I thought. Like I didn't expect that.
Man, I had kids at 5 doing handstand push-ups. We had this whole thing that I added into the curriculum twice a day. We called Shake Out Your Sillies.
Yeah.
Just because saying training seems a little bit too harsh.
Yes.
And 10, 15 minutes a day, twice a day, we were doing workouts where I had them doing like leapfrog and push-up drills and different fun drills with the class. And I had kids at that age, around age 4 and 5, they were strong enough to do handstand push-ups, and we had kids doing flips. And I was creating athletes, but then I was also teaching them, of course, the basics. It's a preschool program, so it was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I learned a lot, and it was one of my many jobs dealing with youth. It was a lot of fun, man. I had them doing a lot of exercise and working on their basics to get them ready for school.
Have you had any of these kids that you help with? Have you been able to see them go into some athletic pursuits, or get back to you later on, and be like, hey, you really helped me out with getting interested in fitness or doing sports?
I have actually. There's been a handful of kids that I taught when they were 4 and 5 that have actually come back this is years later now. I'm where my
Hmm.
first location of Real Deal Fitness for several years was in Lawrencetown, and
Yep.
now I'm in West Chesapeake. These kids have actually come back now, age 10, 11, and I'm training them still to this day. And they're hockey players, and they're really good young athletes. And I'm their strength and conditioning coach, and I have them doing some boxing 101. I have a very integrated style of training at my gym where I kind of have a little bit of a I build a program around my clients, and then I put a bit of a real deal twist on it. It's a lot of fun.
Do your programs? You mentioned how you kind of vary them depending, but do they have the same kind of fundamentals, or would you
Yes.
train certain athletes differently, like a hockey player versus a boxer?
Well, I mean, there's such things obviously when it comes to training protocols as sport specific conditioning, and
Yep.
every different athlete presents with them different challenges and different needs. So I mean, you can't train, say, a bodybuilder the same way you would train a hockey athlete, or a hockey athlete the same way you train a combat athlete.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely, like I said, similarities where I obviously base things around the compound movements that are really functional. Obviously, I believe strongly in body weight training and gymnastics basics. And like I said, I like to kind of add a little bit of variety to my training programs. We do things like rope climbing and a lot of the same training that I like to do for myself. So it's a lot of fun, a lot of battle roping, and of course, again, sports specific conditioning. So they love the boxing on top of all of this training, which makes it fun, even if it's not directly related to their sport. The conditioning carries over well.
And is there any like when you start with somebody that young and
Right.
getting into sports and fitness and whatnot, do they have a lot easier of a time later through life because of that foundation? Like, do you find that there's huge standouts, starting early?
Yeah, I mean, you hear it all the time. Start them young, and the reason why is because they develop good, solid fundamentals and healthy habits at a young age that carries over to their life. I mean, I've trained some of these kids. They're 4 and 5 when they come to me, and a lot of these kids are like 11 and 12 now, and they're in better shape now at that age than I was when I was their age. And I was doing 4 and 5 push-ups a day, running every morning, doing all of this training, but I didn't know what I know now, because you know how that adage goes. If I knew then what I know now, right?
Yes.
So I have some terrific young athletes. I mean, they can do human flags and handstand push-ups, and they got like abdominal muscles, and they're ripped. And I'm like, man, I wasn't like that until I was about 15.
That's awesome, Kyle, that you've been
Yeah.
able to establish yourself and get rapport, and then getting these
Thank
kids
you.
to continue and be lifelong clients and
Yes.
continue with you. That's amazing. That's
I
I
take,
think
I
what
take pride in
everybody's
it.
goal is.
Yeah, I take pride in it. I love it, and like I said, I'm all about supporting local. So with a lot of these kids, that a lot of them come from the Eastern Shore. I got 25 plus kids that come from the Oyster Pond Academy, for example, out towards my way. And a lot of these kids, like I said, I've trained them for years and years now, and so it's just a lot of fun. It's a blast. It's great to watch them grow, and a lot of them, they don't want to fight, they don't want to compete, and that's okay. They just love to train with Coach Kyle. They love to put in work, and I've grown kind of on them, and they've grown on me, so to speak. And I'm like that with a lot of my clients. Whether they're with me for a couple months or a few years or longer, I try to leave with them kind of almost a piece of what makes me me, right? Like, I try and teach them some life lessons and some important things about themselves that they might not have otherwise got. It's not just about training. When you come to my gym, it's more than that. So I take pride in it. I do.
One thing I noticed from kind of watching your social media feed as of late is you've been showing off some new equipment that you got,
Yeah.
and I want to ask you, because this is something I noticed and I really appreciate again about you, is it seems like every now and then you're always investing in yourself and always investing in equipment to become
Yep.
stronger, and I know that not everybody in business has this mentality. It seems like you're always wanting to improve,
Yep.
always wanting to get better, always trying to find better methods, better techniques. Where do you attribute that to?
I think it's just hunger. All my life, I've been very driven. I started at a young age. I started training when I was about 6. I started
Hmm.
boxing. I think I walked into the boxing gym, Twin Cities Boxing, when I was about 9, and and I've just always had a real hunger for trying to learn. And, you know, you couple that with my high energy level and how fast my brain's always going. And I just have this constant need to try to improve, not only for myself, but those I work with and the people around me. So in regards to my gym and my business and all my other pursuits in life, I'm very driven. And I attribute that to, you know, partially my upbringing, but I'd say mostly just it's who I am. And I take pride in it. As I said, you know, when I tell people I am the real deal, that's what I mean.
I wanted to bring this up because I had seen this and watching some tape for your opponent and going back to just the card for one moment.
Yeah.
I was watching some tape. This is about 2014 or so,
Yeah.
where Teddy was going against Behrang Yousefi. And what I noticed it was round one, I was listening to the audio and I couldn't find on BoxRec to confirm this, but the audience member was saying that the opponent, Teddy, had missed weight for that fight. Is that a concern going into this fight, that there might be some weight issues or issues making weight? I seen that and I was interested if you saw that too.
Well, I mean, between me, you, and anybody listening,
Yes.
you know, I don't walk around very big.
Yes.
Keep in mind, back in the day when it used to go down as low as featherweight and
Yep.
even lighter than that, it was always difficult, even in my early 20s. But
Mm-hmm.
now being seasoned and being in this game as long as I have in this business and sport, I've come to understand that, you know, I take pride in being a professional, and I believe that he does as well. So I believe he's training hard and he will make the weight. But worst case scenario, if he doesn't, and this has happened in the past, you know, my fourth pro fight, I fought a guy who had quite a few pounds on me. I can always just go eat a steak.
Yes. Yes.
So no, it's not a concern for me. At the end of the day, fail to prepare, prepare to fail, and I always prepare.
So we kind of reflect post fight with your last fight about going up, moving up. You've been feeling powerful, feeling strong.
Yeah.
Because, you know, previously, you know, you had that fight against Tyson Cave. You had to go down. You know, you want that rematch at a higher higher weight class. I'd love to see that happen again.
It's gotta happen. Like, it'll probably be one of the biggest fights here.
Yes, I agree. But like now it seems like the other thing is, now when you're going up in weight, you're going to be going against people that are way bigger, trying to come down to a smaller weight class. Like, how can you compare, like, being the bigger guy in the smaller division to being maybe one of the smaller guys in the bigger divisions? Like, how does that feel? Like, how do you size yourself up at this new weight class?
Well, I mean, really, and this is how it's always been. You know, in boxing, they say a skilled big guy will more often than not beat a skilled little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, there's always variables.
Yes.
And, you know, at the end of the day, the variable in this instance is I'm going to win. Yes. And I'm prepared. And I know he'll show up prepared. And we're going to put on a hell of a show, and it's going to be a good time. I'm confident, and I'm ready, and I'm sure he is too. So, you know, beyond that, in terms of fluctuating weight classes, it is very hard. It takes a lifestyle adjustment. It takes training adjustments. It's just so much. I mean, to drop 33 some odd pounds, which is what I had to do just to fight Tyson Cave. Keep in mind, I came in 1.5 pounds lighter than that man, and he's 5'4", and I'm 5'7". I haven't been a featherweight since I was in my early 20s for a reason. You know, at the end of the day, it's very, very demanding on your body, and it can really wreak havoc on your health and on your mental health as well. Because, as we know, unfortunately, in this beautiful yet savage sport, people can die, and dehydration and depleting your body of all of its natural, all of its resources can, like I said, wreak havoc. So there's a lot involved. And so as the situation I'm in right now, I get to be in the driver's seat, and I get to control my ship. This is my ship, and I'm steering it in the direction that I want to steer it in. And so I'm very blessed to be in the situation I'm in, and I'm very happy. And so when I make a decision, I make sure I keep all my faculties in check.
Do you see yourself as a pro, at least at this point, trying to find the fights that have the best opportunity and not really focusing too much on the weight class, or do you want to kind of lock in at the welterweight divisions?
Again, timing is really key when it comes to being a fighter. I think you could take the right fight just at the wrong time, and it can completely change the outcome.
Yes.
Call it what it is. One punch can change any fight. So, in speaking in regards to that, I would say I'm trying to make calculated, smart decisions based off of a few things. My health, because I believe health is wealth. My current lifestyle, and of course business always being in mind, because fights got to be marketable, and you got to get better as you go. As I like to say, we learn as we go, and we learn as we grow, right? So at the end of the day, I'm just trying to take steps forward that are going to help me do those things. And in terms of weight classes, I believe I'm going to do good at 140, and I'm doing good at 146, and I intend to stay where I am for the time being. But in the new year, look for some exciting news, and yeah, I'm going to do some big things. It's just let's get through this show first.
And going like you, obviously we've had our conversations about being in promotions but selling a lot of seats, and now being the promoter and whatnot. When you put that promoter hat on, right, and you're looking at matchmaking and other things like that, have you gained a new appreciation for the sport of boxing? Like, tell me, like, because I understand there's learning in boxing, learning techniques, learning how to be a better boxer. But when it comes to the promotion game, like, who are some people that you look up to? Who are some people that have kind of helped you get to where you are?
Well, I like to look at it like every single person that you meet in this lifetime can teach you a little something if you're willing to learn. You can always take lessons from every single interaction. I take lessons from talking with you every single time. I take lessons from talking with any random fighter I come across on any given day. I take lessons every time I go to my boxing gym and I work with, Bridget and the team. It's all just in your perspective. And I believe that, in terms of the promotion, I'm just trying to stay true to who I am, really.
Yes.
I've watched all the same stuff that all of us real boxing enthusiasts watch, the Floyd Mayweathers of the world, and anybody who's doing their own thing and running their own show. And yeah, you're going to take notes. You're going to say, if you're smart, you're going to take notes, and you're going to go, oh, wow, I like what they did there. But at the end of the day, you got to kind of stay true to who you are, because if you try to be somebody else, the outcome might not be what you want it to be. So this time around, and the way I do things, I get to take ownership of everything, whether it's good or bad. And so far, so good.
I love that. That I like saying that you could take ownership for the good and the bad, because that is so true. I mean, the biggest successes now can be linked to you, and then the biggest failures, obviously. So it's like a lot of responsibility and a lot to manage there, but I think you got it under control. I mean, I had so much time the first event. I've heard so much positive feedback. I remember, like, right when the fights came out, there was more people looking for you than, I don't know, like a taxi. Like, it was
I kind of hid from everybody for a bit. I ran the room. I didn't sit down, but again, like, I didn't actually sit down from probably 4 a.m. that day, because I was still meeting people, helping people get their tickets. Like, it was a lot of fun, and it was great. But this time around, I'm trying to be a little bit more, let's say, conservative with my time.
Yes.
And so I was running around until, I don't know, 2 fights before the intermission. And then I finally sat down in the penalty box, and I enjoyed a couple of the fights. I think it was it was a couple of the fights. I think it was Daniel Bupre's fight, and then the Laura McPhee fought Bonnie Hunter, and those were 2 really, really entertaining fights. And And then I finally was like, okay, it's game time. Went in the change room and I was like, it's on, and I just kind of, I flicked off promoter mode and I went into that other mode. And it was a lot of fun and it was exactly what it was supposed to be. And I'm just excited to do it again.
When you mention a broadcast team for this upcoming event, any
Exciting.
thought about pay-per-view or getting it on the streams, or is that something for the near future?
Near future,
Near
absolutely.
future.
Near future. I didn't want to like say it out loud, but I'm
Yeah.
saying it now. I fully intend on fighting for the World Professional Boxing Federation title at
Okay.
140, and I intend on fighting for some belts in the new year. I would do it now, where I'm in a position to do it, but I'm focused more on trying to get as many local fighters on, and like I said, it is about the local scene. It's not just about myself. So.
Yes.
So that's my intention, of course, in the near future, and then yes, work towards maybe getting it broadcasted on something like Fight TV or one of those, maybe Fight Pass. I don't know, UFC Fight Pass. There's a lot of different venues you can go with. It just all comes down to dollars and cents, and if it makes dollars, it makes sense. So that will be something to look forward to in the future, where this venue is so beautiful and they have such great professionals working for them that'll be able to televise it. And we're just going to live stream it this time, though. It'll get out there to thousands. People will be able to enjoy it. It's going to be exciting. I'm going to have it on my YouTube channel. Real Deal Promotions, CBTV, Canadian Boxing Television. And then I'm also going to be broadcasting on another channel, which is like a UK TV boxing channel. It gets seen by about 40,000 some odd people.
Smart.
And we're going to get it out there, man. We're going to get it out there. We're going to just grow this beautiful thing that again is it's more than just me. It's more than just my company. It's about everybody. And that's the real joy I have in this, because when it's all underway, I get to kind of step back and I get to see all the families and the kids out there and the businessmen and women and the friends and the followers and the boxers, and I just kind of get to like breathe it in and take it in and be like, finally doing it. I've been dreaming about this my whole life. I've been working towards this my whole life, and so I'm just thrilled to do it again.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting chills hearing you talking about it, because I just love the kind of the smart business sense, the instincts you have. I mean sharing this as a live stream and putting it out there on multiple platforms, especially where I find that in Britain and the UK, like, that boxing's big. It's one of the official sports. So I mean, landing on that scene, I mean, that takes you places, and certainly they're gonna be really excited if they can watch some boxing, at least for the first event, for free. They're gonna be like, hey, live stream or whatever. I'm just wondering, lastly, before we kind of wrap this whole up, we've been talking a lot about being a promoter. If there's an opportunity that comes your way where you'd have to fight on some other card, would you take it, or is your intention for the rest of your career to be the promoter for your own fights?
That's actually it's an interesting question, because it is something that's crossed my mind, where there is a show looming. I don't want to put it out there just yet, but it's looming in December.
Yep.
And there's always other really good promotion companies out there. United Promotions, Three Lions Promotions, Lee Baxter Promotions. These are pretty big Canadian promotion companies. The biggest in my book here in Canada. And then of course we have the promotion companies in Montreal. I mean, you can't be bigger than that. But at the end of the day, my hat's in the ring now. And I love being in the driver's seat. I mean, that's why we work hard our whole career to hopefully one day maybe be in the situation that I'm in. So for the foreseeable future, I would say I'm going to be on my shows, of course, and trying to do the best I can to take care of all those I'm involved with and build my own roster and team. But I wouldn't be against getting in there on another show if comes down to it and the terms are right. I mean, like I said, if it makes dollars, it makes sense, and it's got to make sense too, not only financially but otherwise. So
yeah, I've seen some fighters talking about this particular thing, and they realize that a lot of promoters or managers, more so managers for fighters, they can be a little bit on the greedy side, right? Because you got somebody like you who can sell the fight by yourself. I mean, I believe you can sell fights by yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's somebody that will want to take a portion of that, and you're like, whoa, wait a second, I'm the one that's selling the fight, right? And I think that's from everything I read, that's kind of been your past experience, where you're like, you understand your value, and you want to be valued now as your own promoter. And
That's right.
It's just an interesting conundrum, because it seems like sometimes there are some opportunities. There are some types of belts where they like to go to certain promotions to have their fights, and nobody really talks about it.
There's a couple things in the air right now. There's a few things looming, but you just take it one day at a time.
Yes.
I got a mission right now, and I got to see it to completion, and that's what I'm doing. November 5th, Saturday, against the ropes. That is the place to be. Lighthouse Arts Center. Ticketferry.com. Get those tickets. Get those tables. It is going to be a packed house, and it is going to be an absolute blast. We're going to have some live music performances. We're going to have a killer show. It's just going to be a time. So come out.
I'm definitely going to be there, guys. And I really want to appreciate you coming on, Kyle. Yeah. Sharing some insights into this upcoming card. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, not only just for your promotion, but best of luck for your own preparation for this upcoming fight. And I'm really excited to see where this keeps going, because it's been headed in a really great direction so far, the first event. So
thanks so much, Matt. Man, like I said, buddy, I'm not too far away. We'll definitely be doing more interviews in the future, and there's going to be some pretty big, exciting news in the new year. But onward and upward, and on to this next big show.
Awesome there. Thank you so much, Kyle.
All right, thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Good People, Bad Intentions podcast. I certainly did. A couple takeaways was that I plan on going to this upcoming event. So if anybody is there, look out for me. I'm going to try to do some interviews, get some equipment for that. And then Kyle, what a standout guy. I always enjoy having him on the podcast. If you notice watching him, he was smiling and looking us dead center. He was showing a lot of good signals about, his confidence and his preparation for this upcoming match. So I'm certainly looking forward to seeing that. And just some other things about Kyle. I mean, when we're talking about living off grid, I don't really understand too much about it. But I understand that that's not an easy lifestyle. So commenting on his work ethic, I mean, nothing comes easy when you don't have the modern conveniences that we have today. So I always enjoy having talks with him, as I believe he has a different perspective than most, and it's really enjoyable hearing his insights on things and matters related to boxing or other things. So, as always, guys, if you've enjoyed this podcast so far, if you're listening to it on a podcast platform, if you could subscribe to the podcast, that way when a new episode comes out, you won't miss it. Leave a rating, an honest rating. And then if you're listening to it on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, as well as share. Subscribe if you'd like to not miss any new episodes. And until next time, guys, see ya.